Hey everybody, it's Coach Matt over here at Primal Athlete Training Center, coming to you with part 2 of our video talking about proper training techniques in the weight room for during your track and field season. Now, in the last video, we talked about how to break up your season into different parts. And if you've done this, you've taken a look at your schedule and you've taken a look at your calendar, and you've figured out that basically the final part of your season, the championship part of the season, is about 3 weeks long. This is where you've got your big regional championship meet, your state championship meet, your division championship meet in the class, whether it's Class A, Class B, Class C, championship meet. No matter, it varies from state to state. You might have some regionals first, and then your divisions, or maybe you just call it class and then regionals. Whatever it is, the big meets at the end of the year are usually the final 3-4 weeks of the season. Now, when you look at the middle part of the year, this is where you're going to have your state qualifying track meets. This is where you're going to have your bigger invites. This is where you're going to have your bigger track meets, the ones that kind of are precursors, the ones that are kind of a preview of the state championships. And that, again, is about another 4-week block. Then you look at the very beginning of your track season. From the very first day that you're allowed to go to practice until the very end of that time period, which is where all the dual meets happen and all the smaller meets, the beginning injury fund relays and things like that, those really teeny tiny meets maybe against 1 or 2 other schools. That is the beginning part of the season, and that's normally about 7 to 8 weeks long. So if you look at your season's about 3.5-4 months long, depending on what state you're in. You can break it up into 4 separate sections. You've got 2 4-week blocks that make up the beginning of the season, another 4-week block that makes up the middle of the season, and a 4-week block that makes up the end of the season. So it only makes sense that you are going to do your training and you're going to do your workouts in 4-week blocks. So today we're going to talk about what's happening in each of those 4 weeks. Before we do that, we want to tell you that the maximum amount of times you should be training per week in the weight room is 2. If you're in the weight room 3 times a week, 4 times a week, if you're in the weight room every time that you don't have a track meet, it's way too much. You need to cut back on that lifting. You need to focus more on quality instead of quantity. And you have to make sure that you're not overtraining yourself. That's what we're going to talk about today, is how to actually make sure that you're training the right way, that you're training with a purpose, so that you peak at the end of the year for those big meets where it really counts. So your first 4-week block, basically this would be the very first day of practice up until maybe the first or the second track meet of the year, the first 4 weeks. You're going to be training in a strength endurance phase. Now we're going to be sticking to all the basic movements, the bare bone stuff. Squats, deadlifts, overhead press, bench press, clean and press. We're going to be working with basic accessory movements, things like lunges, dumbbell incline press, dumbbell bench press. We're talking about things like bent over rows, pull-ups, body weight movements such as ring rows, inverted rows, push-ups, pull-ups, body weight squats, different types of plyometric jumps. We're working strength endurance, so we're going to be working in around that 7 to 8 rep range. A guy who I follow a lot and a guy who I'm kind of part of a group with named Zach Evan-Esch. Zach calls this power building. It's not really powerlifting, it's not really bodybuilding. It's using heavy weight for about 6 to 8 rep range, doing about 4 or 5 sets. So we're really working on building your endurance and building your strength. The second 4-week block, so basically right around that 5th week of your season to about the end of the 8th week of your season, right leading up to that big invite time of year, this is where we're going to be working on increasing our strength, our top end strength, and all of our basic movements. So again, you take your bench press and your squat on the first training day, and you take your deadlift and your Olympic clean and press or your military press, whatever your preference, on the second lifting day of the week. And we work on just improving the maximum strength, improving your 1 rep max, getting you stronger. The way we do this is the first week we're working with about 55 to 65% of your max, working in about a 5 to 6 rep range. Second week, we're working with 65 to 75% of your max, working in 3 to 4 reps. Third week, we are at around 75 to 85% of your max, and we're working with about 2 to 3 reps. And the fourth week, we are around 85 to 95% of your max, working anywhere from 1 to 3 reps, still staying in that 4 set range. Okay, the third 4-week block of the season, we're going to do the same thing. So now we're going to take our new max, whatever that is, and we're going to apply the same percentages to that new max, to the heavier weight. So again, you're going to be doing 55 to 65% of your new max in week 1, 55 to 65% of your new max in week 2, 65 to 85% of your new max in week 3, 85 to 95% of your new max in week 4. So now we've increased our max twice. We've built our strength endurance in the beginning of the year. We've increased our max lifts once. We've increased our max lifts again. And now we're at the very end of the year. This is where we need to deload. And when we talk about deloading, we talk about lowering the weight, lowering the amount of reps, and moving a lighter weight or a medium weight as fast as you possibly can. Now what this is going to do is this is actually going to increase your speed. It's going to let your body fully recuperate, fully recover, so that at the end of the year, you are now at your top form. So the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season, we're going to be taking all of our maxes. So our new max that we just figured out, now that we've increased that max twice, it's a lot higher than it has been at the beginning of the year. Now we're going to take about 75% of our max, and we're going to work in about 3 to 5 rep range, moving it as fast as possible. The next week, we're going to take 65% of our max, working in the 3 to 4 rep range. We're going to move that as fast as possible. Then we're going to take 55%, 3 to 5 rep range, and move that as fast as possible. So we're teaching our body to move a medium weight extremely fast, which is what you do in the throwing events. We are teaching our body, we're letting our body fully recover. We're letting our body fully recuperate so that at the big meets at the end of the year, we're nice and fresh, we're nice and energized and have a lot of energy and a lot of pop. But we're not completely cutting ourselves off. We're not completely turning that faucet off that lets the strength and lets the energy flow. We're simply slowing down to a trickle so that at the end of the year, you've got all that pressure, you've got all that adrenaline, you've got all that big, powerful aggression that's built up so that you can peak at the right time at the end of the year. It's a lot to go through in a little 5-6 minute video. So on our new blog on primalatc.com, once the blog is up and running in about 2 weeks, we're going to be breaking this down. We're going to take it right from the middle of the season where we're at now, and on a day-to-day basis, we're going to be explaining to you what you should be doing in the weight room and what you should be doing out in the throwing circles and in the field to help improve your throws, to get you on the right path to peaking at the end of the season. Make sure if you haven't done so already, you find us on Facebook, Primal Athlete Training Center. Just search it, it'll pop right up. Look for the logo that you see at the beginning of these videos. And check out our website, primalatc.com. Bookmark it. In a week, we're going to have a brand new blog, brand new site with all of our videos on there. Place that you can go, an online, an online presence where throwers can go to get more info. We hope you guys check it out. We're going to be dropping hits like this and dropping tips like this every single day. Check us out on a daily basis. Let your teammates know, let your friends know. This is the place to come to get good training information for all the throwing events. Coach Matt signing off. Hope to hear from you guys soon.